Hello and welcome to Loud Creations. Today I am here to talk about a pumpkin spice mead that I've started. Now, I recorded the whole process of how everything ended up in this bucket. I started this about 4 days ago, and when I went to edit it, I realized I forgot to turn my microphone on. So right now, I'm just going to play, because I don't want to waste all that footage. I'm going to go ahead and play the parts and narrate what is happening so you can see how I got to this point. And then after that, I will talk about adding the spices. So here we go. First, I go over the ingredients. So I use Lalvin D47 yeast, and probably saying how I always use it, I used pectic enzyme, half a teaspoon. And I have 3 pounds of raw honey. I only used about 2.5 pounds for this recipe. I also sharing that I got local honey from a local beekeeper that I'm excited about. Woohoo! And I'm still talking, but I'm not sure what about. So I'm just talking about how I'm using my local honey for my methicillins and other herbal remedies. And then I have about a cup of roughly chopped raisins, and I'm doing that just to add a little bit of depth to this. I used a little bit of brown sugar. And then I have water that was actually, I used a large sweet potato and I chopped it up and boiled it, and I used the boiled water. I'm hoping the sweet potato will add flavor. And then I used about 5 pounds of roasted pumpkin. So I used 2 sugar pumpkins, and by the time you take everything off, the skin off and everything, I'd say it was about 5 pounds. I put it in a nut milk bag and set it in there. Now I'm adding the raisins, and my brown sugar was at the end of its shelf life, so it was hard to get a good scoop out of there. I put roughly a half a cup, and I'm hoping this will make it taste more like pie. I went ahead and added my 2.5 pounds of honey to the warm water mixture that I had, just because it would be easier to stir. This is me, again, pouring it into the 2-gallon bucket over the roasted pumpkin and the little sweet potato that's in there and the raisins. And then next up, it was body temperature, so I added my half a teaspoon of pectic enzyme, stirred that up, got that mixed in nicely to help ensure that my mead will clear out. We'll see if that works. And then finally I put my D47, I put the whole packet in there and got that stirred up. Okay, so there was my not so fancy narration of how I got to this point with this mead, and I will be back in this video in just a minute when I'm ready to infuse some honey. So my approach this time is to infuse honey with the pumpkin spice spices. What is that? I'm going to use allspice, nutmeg, cloves, and cinnamon. I'm going to infuse honey in a pint jar and get it, I want to make it kind of powerful, and then I'm going to use that to make it as spicy as I want to be when I go to back sweeten this. The original gravity on this was 1.082, so I'm going to let this go completely dry, and then I'm going to back sweeten it with my spiced honey. So I will be right back to make the spiced honey. All right, I am back, and I have a pint jar, and I'm just going to add some spices to this. So I'm just winging it here. I didn't have all the spices that I need, so I'm using some powdered stuff, but I have 2 cinnamon sticks that I'm going to put in the jar. I have 2 cloves. I find that cloves tend to be pretty powerful, so I don't want to overdo it there. I have allspice berries, and I'm excited to be using these because I bought them for something. I think I made like a spice cider mix for Christmas. And I have not used these since. So I'm going to just put, and I might be underdoing it, overdoing it. I really don't know. I'm going to put 7 allspice berries in the jar. And then I'm going to do a teaspoon each of nutmeg and ginger, just powdered, because I want to make this video and I don't feel like running to the store. A little mess here. All right, so I got my ginger, and I'm also putting a teaspoon of nutmeg in, which I'm going to add after the fact because I don't have any nutmeg. Oddly, of all the things, I had nutmeg that lasted forever and then finally it's gone. So here's what I have here. So this is most of what I need. I'm gonna go ahead and just cover this with honey. Now, I don't know, I've never put dried powdered spices in my mead. If it ends up affecting the clarity of the mead, I don't really mind because I kind of like seeing the spices floating around in there. So, but anyway, I'm just chattering now. So I have my big bucket. Next step is to put the honey on top of the spices. So I'm gonna just use a ladle here and scoop out some of this local honey, and this is the first time using it, so I'm excited about this. I have my canning funnel to make it hopefully a little less messy, and let's see here. I'm just gonna do a big scoop. Oh my gosh, maybe too big of a scoop. This honey looks lovely. Something I wanted to say about adding the honey. You want to fill it up to cover all of the spices and leave about 1/4 of an inch of headspace in there. And for these herbal infusions, since I'm not fermenting anything, I am going to put this actually in the windowsill behind me, which is a nice sunny spot. I just have it closed for my videos, so I don't have some light shining behind me. And I'm gonna leave it there. I don't know. I'll probably start testing it in about a week to see if it's at the level that I want, and then I will strain all of the spices out. So when I went and picked up the honey, the beekeeper was saying that the bees, like, they'll check you out and they'll look at your face and stuff. And there was one on my shoulder that was, sure enough, it was sitting there and it looked like it was looking at me. Thought that was pretty cool. Okay. Okay, so I'm kind of just hanging out here, trying to let the rest of the honey go into there. I have about, I'd say about 1/2 inch of space in here, but I don't want to risk overdoing it. So if I had any forethought here, I would have brought something to put this honey stuff on, but okay. So I have my, I'm gonna need to clean this off, but I have my spices and the honey, and I'm gonna put this in a sunny spot for several days. And each day I'll probably check on it and swish it around just to move around the spices and get it all mixed in. I have my lid, which I need to clean. So I got my lid, and I'm gonna, whoops. I've never tried this before. This is just kind of on a whim. I decided I want to try a different way of adding spices because I haven't been really satisfied with the results so far. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to do here, just because I have a lot going on, I'm going to write the date on here. So I will, and I'll put a reminder in my phone. That's been my lifesaver. So there it is, a pumpkin spice honey infusion. It's just at the beginning. It hasn't really gotten far yet, but I'm very excited to see how this turns out and if it'll actually flavor my mead. We shall see. If it's not strong enough, I might add more spices to it. Also, I need to add my nutmeg. I'll add at least a teaspoon of dried nutmeg. So that is it. When the mead is fully dried out and it's aged for a while, I'm going to go ahead and back sweeten it and then pasteurize. So next time you see me, I will be sipping on some pumpkin spice mead, and hopefully it will be extremely tasty and satisfying because I love pumpkin spice. Oh, that was another thing I went off on when I didn't have a microphone on. It's how much I totally do the cliche pumpkin spice thing. I just do. I love it, and I'm very, very, I don't know why I didn't think of doing this sooner. So next time you see me, I will be sipping on some pumpkin spice mead and letting you know how it all turned out. I hope this video was useful, and I will see you next time. Thank you.